before I'm going to introduce our speaker, I'm just going to briefly introduce New Acropolis. Because I think I see a lot of new faces. This is probably your first time here, no? For many? Okay, excellent. So we are a school of philosophy, and we organize these type of events, but we also give courses in philosophy. And we are a school of philosophy that promotes culture and practices volunteering. And we are part of an international organization. We were founded 70 years ago. We're in Ireland 40 years. We have the center here, or very close to it. We have the center here in Dublin, we have one in Cork, and we're also giving the introduction course to Philosophy for Life in Marino, which started just last week. And we're a volunteering organization, not for profit. So all our activities, everything on the classes and so on is organized by our volunteers. And our courses and activities are really for people from all backgrounds, all ages. And we offer a continuous education, which is based on the practice of timeless values, so that we can contribute to our individual development, but particularly the collective development, which has always been the aim of all philosophy schools. And so we follow the example of both Eastern and Western philosophies, but with an emphasis on practice. And so it's not just an intellectual exercise. And I think today's event, particularly, you will get a good sense of what philosophy means for us in New Acropolis. So before I introduce Alan, I would just give a kind of a short kind of what the spirit of this workshop is, because normally we do talks. So, but the spirit of the workshop is interactive. So we're offering practices, role plays, okay? And then it's an invitation really for yourself to take it in, I'm going to say what is the Stoic spirit, which is to take the practice seriously, but not ourselves. And the ideas for the practices that they help maybe a little bit to develop what is the title of the workshop, to develop a little bit more clarity and a little bit more strength in adversity. In terms of practicalities, in case of fire, there's a fire exit. That you go out here, you follow the hallway, or of course to the front. And now I'd like to introduce Alani Pellizzeri, which is the director of New Acropolis in Ireland. And
no pressure.
He will give an introduction at the beginning, and maybe you've seen the program. There's a couple of different activities that we do. We try to stick to the timetable, let's see, hopefully. But maybe it lasts a little bit longer. Particularly the last part, which is a conclusion with questions that you may have that might arise from today's activities, from your reflections. So there'll be time for practices, time for reflections, individually and collectively, and then at the end, all of us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Monica. So, I'm going to get out of the forest first. So my name is Alan Pellizzeri. I've been in Ireland 37 years, I think, since the late 80s, so I've seen the transformation of this country, for sure. So what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm sorry because I'm just recovering from a throat infection, flu-ish kind of thing, so I hope my voice will get to the end of my presentation. It's only half an hour, and at the end, the question and answer session. If need be, we can connect all the microphones, but you can all hear me all right, yes? Okay, so the base of the philosophical boot camp. Boot camp for me means basically practice, okay? Because in reality, when you think about philosophy, we tend to think about academia. But in reality, that's not where philosophy started. At least in the Western world, it started in the Agora, which is a public place where philosophers not only discuss but practice philosophy, okay? And always be understood as a way of life. And so as a school of philosophy, we started 70 years ago, it's in that spirit of the ancient schools of philosophy, both of the Eastern and the Western world. And so the Stoic are at the heart of that, and today, for a number of reasons, they have risen back quite high, and people are very interested in what the Stoic have to say. And it's easy to understand what they say, I have to say. It is much more complex to practice it. This is always the enormous gap there is between what we understand and what we do. We understand loads of things. We do much less. So I tend to say we know a lot, we understand very little, and we practice even less. And I'm not being cynical at all, it's just a reality. What we're trying to do today is to invite you to do a few practices and some level of reflection, self-reflection and awareness of through these practices that can help you perhaps to observe yourself in action. And this self-observation hopefully will allow you to discover certain things. The tendency of our ego is to find excuses why things don't work the way we like. So Marcus Aurelius said a lot about the necessity we have to self-observe our ego, which tends to create a lot of noise. And you're going to see the noise of your own ego easily in the practices. And that's okay. Don't blame the poor ego. It is natural reaction. It is conservative by nature and always sees life as, I can't do this. Okay? So we're going to try to see it slightly differently. Now, in half an hour, talking about the Stoics is a bit short. I'm going to focus on a key few ideas to help you understand the practice of Stoicism, or if you prefer, philosophical practices. Not long ago, I gave a couple of talks and workshops on philosophical practices in various schools of philosophy. But today, the Stoics specifically, this is the one that I'm going to talk about. I will leave the history for you to check on Google if you like. It's easy, okay? Otherwise, you spend a lot of time. What is the first key? The first thing is that the Stoic gives us a methodology, okay? And the methodology of the Stoic is to gain what they call ataraxia, which is a state of mind which is unmoved, unperturbed by circumstances. Okay, so their objective is that we gain inside the ability to remain stable and unperturbed by the environment. Well, translation. We need to learn to be less affected and reacted to our environment. And I say environment, it can be our own ego is our environment too, just in case. Okay? We tend to be far too on the surface of our emotions and not very much on our center. And this is not an insult to anybody, please. It's just that this is the world we live in. If you like to enjoy to understand this more, read The Myth of the Cave of Plato. He explains this very well. Is that, we tend to be on the surface and reacting to external circumstances most of the time. So our difficulty is to go beyond our circumstances and remain ourselves despite our circumstances. That doesn't mean in any way to ignore them. No. Ignoring our circumstances to hide from the world. From a philosophical point of view, I find that absolutely unnecessary, and I would say we shouldn't do it. We live in the world, but we don't have to be so affected by it. Because if you're otherwise I'm going to eat this thing. And I'm not that hungry, so it's all right. So, because if we want to impact the world, let's say we have to have a positive impact, if I'm so affected, I can't. What I've learned when I was quite young was this art that the Neoplatonists talk about a lot. It is what they call the movement of the soul, to be close enough and far enough at the same time. If you're too close to something, you can't do anything. If you're too far away from something, you can't do anything either. So it is an art to learn how to do that. Close parenthesis, a little parenthesis about this, is that to get to what I'm going to explain today, there is an enormous amount of work to be done for the rest of our life. So don't take what I say as a trick that you can use tomorrow morning and that's it. No, it's a starting point. Okay? And that starting point, most of these schools say that we need to develop moral strength or character. Without developing moral strength or character, what I'm going to talk about, it's nice, but that's what it is. Okay? So sorry for all these little warnings, but the synthesis way to explain this, or synthetic way to explain it. So the first key, the first thing to do, they say, is to differentiate what depends on us and what doesn't. You know this, I'm sure you've read this somewhere. You have to differentiate what depends on you and what doesn't. Most of the time you get upset about things which have no way to impact at all. Like the weather in Ireland. I'm joking. But I'm not really joking, because in reality, if I was affected by the weather, I do nothing. But if I accept the weather, which is the first key to understanding how to navigate life, if I accept the reality in which I am, I can do something to navigate that situation. And I know I'm taking a simple example of the weather, but you'll understand why. It's easy to understand. So what depends on us is our thoughts, our desires, our body. But what doesn't depend is the reputation we have, because that depends on others. There are a lot of things that doesn't depend on us in reality. And you need to know, and you need to make that little list for yourself of the things that you know you can impact and those that you can't. You're going to already gain 50% of stress out. Literally, 50% will go. Because you say, I can affect this, but I can't affect that. Okay. So I'm going to put my energy, my concentration, the things that I can change. Generally speaking, it's about ourselves. Because 99% of the difficulties we need to overcome are not external, but internal. Oops. But what we want is that the others change so that we're happy. Have you ever noticed that? Can you control that? Well, no. But most people, they are hoping for the world to change so that their world changes. Do you have control of that? I don't, and nobody does. Okay, but you can control what you do, your actions. Okay? And if we start controlling our actions, we suddenly can go towards others, situations, resolving them to the point that belongs to us. And then the rest, whatever. I'll be Buddhist, karma. Action, reaction. My actions will generate a reaction. Maybe not the one I want or like. And there's the second point about acceptance, which is one of the key elements, is that acceptance requires that we let go of the immediacy of our desires. Oh dear God. You understand? So, the first exercise they suggest, and people don't like me when I say this, you have to postpone your likes and dislikes to accept what you should do. Do you understand? Jesus, I just said that. Jesus. Oh. Because we've been sold for quite a while, do what you like. Do what you desire. And the philosophers of all time says, recognize what you're responsible for. Yuck, responsibility. We don't like that either. Realize what's good and act accordingly. This will be the source of your happiness. Just a different story, as you can see quite quickly. What does not depend on us is life, death, illness. I got sick. The body, the injustices of the world. I see people getting hyper excited about the injustices of the world. And then I say, but observe your behavior. Have you behaved justly today? Yes. Because that you control. The injustices of Trump, I don't know if we can change those. I'm sorry, just a joke. No. But being just to my friend, neighbor, partner, kids, or whatever it is, I can do that. Be good or do good, if you prefer. That I can control. Do you understand the difference? Yeah. Marcus Aurelius says that what depends on us is our opinions on things and the opinions we have about what we want. That's mine. Nobody can do it for me. Those are the ones I can control. And so the second point they say, once you have differentiated what depends on you and doesn't, it's quite simple. You purely and simply have to accept it. So acceptance is with this. It's not intellectual. No. You have to accept with your heart. This is difficult because acceptance requires that you embrace what's yours and you let go what's not yours. Embrace means heart, with enthusiasm, they say. Not I like, I don't like, enthusiasm, which is slightly different than passion. Passion is more driven by I like, I don't like. Enthusiasm is driven by what you think is good. Do you know what the word enthusiasm means? It's Greek, it's entheos, God within. Very different. That's it. It is expressing with your deepest sentiment what you consider to be the best. That's what it means. Nothing to do with passion, which they come and go. They're short-lived, if you wish. The definition of the dictionary of passion is to act without thinking, which is not very philosophical. I know we use the word a lot in daily life, and I accept that, but we need to change a little bit the way we look at things and the way we look at ourselves, perhaps. What's important about acceptance is to understand that it is not a submissive behavior. No. Acceptance requires strength of character, because once you accept something, you also accept what it takes to resolve it. Okay? Acceptance is not, okay, it's all right. No, that's not acceptance. That's indifference. Don't confuse acceptance with indifference. Acceptance requires strength of character. In reality, it requires heart, love. Because you have to accept and love what is given to you. In Eastern tradition would be you have to accept your karma. That's the way to say it. And people don't like when I say this. Yes, but we are the result of a cause and effect, complex cause and effect. If I don't accept the complexity of cause and effect that makes me today, how am I going to progress or change from that point of view, from that point on? It's very difficult. So it's an interesting exercise to do that as an act of acceptance. So the mind helps us to understand, the heart helps us to accept. So we need to understand, differentiate what I can and cannot control, but I have to accept in my heart. The Egyptian, because I just gone to Egypt recently, they talk a lot about the intelligence of the heart. And now we know that the heart has neurons, so it's interesting. So the hearts think more than we think. It has more neuron than the brain. Very interesting. We think with the brain only, but we're not only brain, we're heart and brain. Courage is the marriage between the two. Well, in Latin, courage comes from the word heart. So it's the heart and mind that are married together. That despite the difficulties in front of us, we find a solution to overcome courage. Okay? And so it's clear that as a fundamental quality, courage will be very important. Okay. So that's the first one, acceptance. So the Stoic calls that the discipline of acceptance, I can say in English. And I think I've explained enough about acceptance, but I think it's important to understand it well. Sometimes the Stoics call it the discipline of consent, consenting to things, but acceptance in English I think is better. So what the Stoics are trying to do is to take a level of unnecessary emotionality away from the reality we're experiencing. They're not saying don't have emotions. No. Instead of emotion, develop sentiments. Do you understand the difference in English? An emotion, it's a bit like a cookie. You eat and it goes very quickly, or a bag of crisps. Sentiments are something you build over time and they tend to last. In some cases, a lifetime. Do you understand?
Feeling.
Yes. What people call feeling, but people use feeling for everything that moves. That's why I tend to differentiate the two. A feeling should be a sentiment, as you said. Absolutely agree. We've forgotten how to develop those feelings. We want emotions. So as you say, we are slightly addicted to emotions. Do you understand what I mean by this? But because a sentiment or feeling takes work to develop. Yeah? And what we need to do is to develop those feelings and sentiments. Yeah. The second discipline after acceptance, which I've mentioned a little bit, they call it the discipline of desire. They say it means desiring only what belongs to the natural order of things. Good God. Stepping out our personal dimension and to desire what's good, not what we like and dislike. But today we are driven by like and dislike and the immediacy of consuming those desires. We need to learn to project our sentiments or feelings to what we think is good, not only for us, but for everyone. Not bad, is it? I thought so. So, for instance, you face someone who's losing his or her temper. You have multiple possibilities to react. Generally speaking, we react how? There are exceptions to everything, but we tend to absorb the emotionality, like a sponge. And we react with the impact of that anger, so to speak, and we project it back to the person. Or we bottle it in, you said the Irish, we bottle it in Ireland, and then we go for a few pints. And then we talk about it for about 5 hours with about 10 pints. It's the same idea. Some people explode. Some people bottle it in and so on. We're just absorbing what's happening to us. So that's one reaction. Is there another reaction possible? In the face of what we are experiencing of other people's behavior? Yes? If I am in ataraxia and I'm stable within myself, why am I accepting the other person's anger? Why am I taking it? The first question, why am I taking what the other is trying to give me? Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? Okay. I'll give you a Buddhist example because Buddhist and Stoic are very similar. Buddha says that if somebody gives you a present and you don't accept it, what happens with that present? It stays in the hands of the person who gave it to you. Somebody's angry, you look at them and say, okay. Thank you, but no. Generally speaking, the other person stays with the present. In this case, not quite a present. Or the scenario in work when somebody tells you, you always do this. You never heard that expression? At work or at home. Well, always already is an absolute. It's not possible. Okay, so that's number one. So if you're a Stoic, you say, always, can you tell me when? And then they start, oh, you know what I mean. No, I don't. No, I don't know at all. Tell me when. No, but it's not true, it's another team. So why don't you go talk to them then? Why me? Do you understand that, Bill? I'm doing an exercise by myself. But in reality, this happens more often than we think. I can go on and on and on and on. But this is an interesting exercise. But to do what I've just done, what do I need to do? I need to be present in what is happening. If I'm distracted, if I desire too much others to like me, whatever they tell me, I'm going to take it personally. Because I'm looking in others to affirm who I am. But nobody can affirm who we are except ourselves. If they do it, you say thank you. Somebody says they like you, they love you. Yes, you love them back. Fantastic. But can you buy that? Can you guarantee that? No. So when somebody tells you they love you, that's good. But it's not a guarantee. You can't dictate that. You can dictate you telling others maybe or acting in such a way. That's your choice, yes. But for others to do it for you, You cannot ask others to be nice to you, can you? You can ask, so maybe I'm going to do it, but we can remain calm in the face of what's happening to us. So, but the desire to be liked, appreciated, loved, remaining our emotional comfort at any price makes us do stupid things. Sorry, I shouldn't say that publicly, but you understand? Makes us do things that perhaps takes away our humanity and our dignity as human beings. Yeah. There's an exercise that is useful if you want. Instead of saying me, I think this, me, myself, and I all the time, trying to speak in the third person, trying to present things not only from the point of view of your ego. Do you understand what I mean by this? It's an interesting exercise to do. It is one of the most difficult exercises I know. Because we are self-centered, not in a negative sense, but we always think me, and me. And I've done this exercise many times, and it's not so easy not to what I think, what I believe, what I like, what I want. And I know that we live in a world, this is what is pushed continuously. So it's very difficult to gain perspective of what's happening. The third element that I want to share with you is what the Stoics call ethics and social cohesion. So, if we have to learn to accept, if we learn to how to manage our desires, we also need to develop the discipline of unselfish action. We can call it altruistic actions, we can call it generous action. It's interesting to see that the third recommended exercise that they do is that we learn to act with generosity. That's interesting, isn't it? Why is that? Why generosity is so important? For them, it is the expression of life itself. Everything in life, if you observe it carefully in nature as well, you see that nature is generous, gives continuously without asking anything in return. And we need to learn that attitude in life to learn how to engage in taking responsibility for ourselves in the collectivity. So in Hindu philosophy, they call that karma yoga, which is to act without expecting anything in return. In common English today, people use the word volunteering, which is a very interesting word, because it's using your will by choice to help others. Okay, this is very interesting, but it's your will, not somebody else's. That's where the word volunteer comes from, the word volonté, in Latin, will. Okay, yeah. So voluntarily, I engage in what, sorry, the Roman will call solidarity. A word not often used in English. It's more used in French. Because solidarity is to consider the fact that we all have a responsibility for each other. Fantastic. And I know that the ideas I'm sharing with you are a bit in opposition from today's world. And I know that. And I've been doing this for, well, over 40 years. Because it is clear that we need to rediscover these ideas. Not intellectually, but in practice. This is why we're a school of philosophy that promotes culture through volunteering. That people can activate their own will to enter in solidarity with each other and the world they live in. Because we cannot disconnect ourselves from the world. Yeah. And this is an interesting exercise of introspection, in my view, to become aware of in which way we can help each other. COVID was interesting for that. In times of crisis, we can see in human nature the ability to do so. But once the crisis goes, we go back to our bad habits, I call them. And we go back into our caves and do our things. And I wouldn't say we're selfish, we're self-centered. Well, sometimes we're selfish, but anyway. For the Stoic, the discipline of altruism is in a way to become more ethical. We developed the concept of ethics in our introduction to philosophy of East and West. I think it's next week, no? We're starting that next Tuesday. Over 18 weeks, because I'm giving you half an hour of things I developed over 18 weeks. So it's not, you have to forgive me if I'm a bit synthetic. But I think you understand what I'm talking about. And one of the key elements is ethics. But to become ethical, that is to say, is the ability we have to practice our values, and I'm going to say timeless principles and values, which if we discuss them together, I'm sure we're going to come to agree what they should be. The difficulty is not the values, it's the application of these values. We go in the street and we see the right thing to do. Do we always stop? The other day it was early in the morning, and I saw several cars passing by, people who were on the street, fallen, drunk to be fair, in a bad state. 4 minutes left, exit. Nobody stopped, and I stopped, and a gentleman stopped, and fortunately he was a first aid, a frontline guy, and he said, "Don't worry, I'm going to take care of this." We called the Guardian, they were there very quickly. But I was at the traffic light, and car after car after car after car, and I there, huh? And I know I didn't know what to do. If my wife was with me, who's a nurse, I would ask her, "What do we do?" Because she knows better than me. Although I've done the first aid training and all that kind of stuff, but in this situation you don't know. And the guy stopped and said, "Thank you for stopping." And we had these two poor fellas, and the Guardian came and brought them to the right place. So, and I don't want to talk about all the problems we have in Dublin, the increased homelessness and so on. Are we becoming more desensitized to the necessity of the collectivity and our civic responsibility? But this is not a new subject, it is a very old subject, and the Stoics have always brought these to our attention. So, I use the word generosity. The Tibetan use the word presence. We need to be present in what we're doing. Are we present in what we're doing? Are we present in our conversation, in our actions? Or are we just distracted in our own planet and forget about the rest of the world? And you can answer that question by yourself if you want. There's much more to Stoicism, but these few key ideas can help you a little bit to understand where I was trying to go with this. Because these few ideas can first and foremost help in everyday life. With acceptance, to be observant of our desires. I must admit that it's not easy to change them on the fly. At the beginning we observe them and we go off like there is no tomorrow, and we observe, say, holy crap, what happened there? How many times have we said to ourselves, I lost it, but I don't know why. At least now you know you lost it. Next time you lose it less, and eventually you gain some ability to navigate your difficulties. And if it's third, we can also take responsibility for each other, altruism. These keys can help a lot. But we're going to start with acceptance. So this is my allotted time. I've been reminded very carefully. Because the afternoon is more about a few practices. We have 1 minute for one question. No, at the end of the practices, there will be a session with question and answer. But they'll be based also not only what I said, but also the practices, which will be better, I think, at that stage. But just in case you have a quick question, I might be able to answer. If it's logistics question for the afternoon, Monica and somebody else can answer as well. Was it clear enough?
Sure.
Yeah?
I think you were probably describing what we might call random acts of kindness.
Yes. It is one aspect. But we need to be kind, not randomly, but all the time.
It doesn't mean you only do it once.
No, I understand. But the attitude we need to have is, to do what we think is right, but not once in a while, but as a state of mind and as a way of life. Yeah. Because literally what I'm talking about is a way of life. It's not a trick. It's not a list of ticks and do's and don'ts. No, it's an attitude to life. That's why this is an education for life that I'm describing, and I must admit. And with this, hopefully, that will encourage you to investigate further, and perhaps we can continue our dialogue for the next possible weeks, if you like. I'll be giving the class. It's not that I'm trying to advertise. Just next Tuesday, and we were going to. There's a lot of dialogues in the class because they are needed to rediscover these ideas in practice. That's it. Anybody? Anything else?
Yeah, where's the best place to find these practices, like books or?
So there's an excellent book by what's his name? Huh?
Ryan Holiday? Ryan Holiday?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pierre Hadot maybe is one. There's a couple of guys who have written a number of practices from the schools of philosophy, and the one I've used for today is called The Inner Citadel by a gentleman called Pierre Hadot. He's a French guy. Somebody can write it there maybe. And then there's another book of practices, which I can't remember the title. Is it Spiritual Practices or Philosophical Practices? The same author. Although he came from academia, he realized that philosophy needs to be practiced. And the key ideas I've taken today is from that book called, by that author Pierre Hadot, The Inner Citadel. Citadel is like a fortress, which is your inner fortress. It's to build your inner self, your inner human being. And if you want, for a good price, no, I'm just kidding. I have a lot of those practices. And for another day's work, these practices are physical, energetical, emotional, mental, and spiritual practices. There are 5 different types of practices, and each of them should be done every day. They don't take a lot of time. They, in fact, take a few minutes every day. And they tend to be physical, energetical, emotional practices, mental, as in reason, and then spiritual practices as well. Nothing to do with religion when I say spiritual. So there are 5 types, really, 4 or 5 types. And they should be done regularly every day. If you want, I can describe them, but not today. This is not today's work. Monica is afraid that I continue to, and we never do the practices of today. But yes, there are loads. I've taken some of them with me in case you ask questions after the practices later. That's it, Monica, you're on. Oh, it's me again. Oh yes, we're going to start with the practice. It's me again. Okay. Practice. So I chose a simple practice so you can stay sitting where you are. It's a simple concentration exercise to center you. Okay, is that all right? So the first thing is to sit on your chair in a very simple way, just with your feet parallel, your hands on your laps. That's all. Don't slouch. Try to not slouch. Just stable. Okay. So the first thing of this practice is a practice of concentration and immobility. When you do any sort of practice, you need to prepare your environment first. So you close your eyes, you're sitting on a chair, your back is straight, your feet are together, your hands are on your laps. And we're trying to work what I call presence and stillness. Is one word you can use in English. Oh, I don't care. The first thing is trying to remain silent. It's possible that the little animal in us doesn't like the situation of staying still and calm. Probably wants to open its eyes and say, what am I doing here? What is this practice for? You calm it down. And you're trying to revert your gaze instead of being outside to be inside yourself. You're trying to let go of the feeling of the attraction of the outside world. We befriend ourselves. We look inside. And now you just observe your breathing. You do nothing. Just observe your breathing. Where is it, the breathing? Is it high up? Is it in your solar plexus? Or is it down in your abdomen? Breathing slowly. And slowly you're bringing or breathing as low as possible towards the abdomen. And we're consciously trying to release the tensions of the body. The only thing you're doing is concentrating in breathing in and out. It's possible that it is the first time today that you paid attention to how you were breathing. Now let's look at our body. Our feet are on the ground, and you focus your attention on the sole of your feet. You feel the ground underneath. Your legs become heavy enough, and slowly the tension goes. Our feet feel heavy. We start feeling our legs differently, our calf and our ankles. And now we go up a bit and release the tension that is in our pelvis. You feel that you're sitting well and your pelvis is heavy on the chair. You feel the connection between your head, your back, your legs. Your lower part is attracted by the earth, and your head is attracted by the heavens, by the sky, by the ceiling. You are probably reaching the right tension. You are neither slouching nor too tense. You can feel your hands on your laps. You can feel every finger. You can feel the heat on your legs. You're aware of all the fingers from thumbs to each finger on your legs. You feel the full contact of your hands on your thighs. And now we go back to our breathing. Where is it now? Is it in a different place than at the beginning? Even dare to smile, like those beautiful statues in Egypt. And if you can, you might be able to see a dot in the middle of a circle in your mind. Then you stay with that dot for a second. Breathing deeply. Breathe out. Please open your eyes. Nobody fell asleep? Excellent. Did it work? Did it center you a bit? It's a very old exercise, I must admit. There are different stages to that exercise, but that's the beginning of the exercise. This is the preparation part of the exercise. I'm not kidding. You have to be ready, prepared, centered. Then you can do other things. Thank you very much.